Howdy howdy folks, it is Quinnie back at you with another video. I hope you guys are having a good day because I know I sure am. So this video is going to be a bit darker than my other videos. It's going to be about a certain facility that my dad used to tell me stories about when I was a kid, and it is some of the scariest shit ever. And like, this place isn't a like urban legend or anything like that. This place really existed. And basically a lot of people use the like this facility's past to scare their children into being sent to, because like, I mean, to set them straight and stuff like that, which I understand. But this facility was no joke. It involved a lot of experimentation, and it involved a lot of experimentation and with kids, with children, with minors. From like it's just really abhorrent and disgusting. And knowing how I feel about the good upbringing of youth, I just wanted to document it because of how like just abhorrent and just downright evil this place was. So let's get into it. So let's start with the founder of the institute. His name was Jorgen Binary. Jorgen Binary was a close egg to Eggman throughout the Eggman Wars. He was a doctor that would like he was a doctor that pretty much would work on the robots. He would experiment on the robots that he was sent out to fight, and he would also do some experimenting on Mobians as well, which is very, very disturbing to think about. And basically, before Eggman was taken down in the war, he would flee the facility that he was working at before the Mobian forces could reach Eggman and take him down. And he would live in seclusion. He would live in total seclusion for, I want to say, about 5 to 10 years after the Eggman Wars ended. And after that, he would basically keep working on his experiments in while he was living in seclusion. He would alter them. He would alter the serums that he would make. He would alter a lot of liquids, a lot of just stuff like that. Eh, just bear with me. I'm just being told what my father. I'm just telling you what my father told me. But anyway, he would he would figure out that most of the enhancements that would work for the robots would also work for Mobians as well. So what he knew was that he had to test these out on actual living beings. So what he did was he still had money left over from what Eggman paid him, and he would use that money to start up an orphanage. He would take in kids that, he would take in orphans, and he would experiment on them. All these orphans were from the ages of 12 years old to 17, and he would experiment on them. It's very sickening. It's gross stuff, like just stuff that like it would even give me nightmares. And what he would do before he experimented on them is he would mind wipe them, which basically means he would do this thing where he would get rid of their emotions entirely, and he would just So basically, like the kids that he would experiment on basically just did everything that he did everything that he said, and he would end up using these enhancements on them. These enhancements would pretty much turn these kids into just super mobians, like not like superheroes or anything, not like giving them powers and such, but like enhancing their movement speed, enhancing their strength, enhancing their agility, things like that. And he would also train them to be proficient with weapons, whether it be firearms, whether it be melee weapons like a machete, a knife, a baseball bat. He would train them to be proficient in using those tools, and he saw that they were able to pretty that with also them being subservient to him, basically doing whatever he wants them to do. He knew that he could make his own army of just savage killer brainwashed kids that would go around and do jobs for him. So what he did was he would pretty much hire other doctors, most of them being former doctors that worked under Eggman, and he would hire them to also conduct experiments on these kids, and they would even go out and kidnap kids. They would kidnap kids, or they would even pose, some doctors would even pose as mothers and fathers that were going out and adopting children from other orphanages, and they would take them back to their facility. And this is where he would name his facility the Binary Institute. Like, the Binary Institute is just infamous throughout Vermilion City. So, like I said before, the way they populated the Binary Institute is that they would either kidnap children, or they would end up posing as foster parents and going to other orphanages and adopting these children to conduct their experiments on. But anyway, what they would usually do with these kids when their experiments on them are complete is that they would train them. They would train them, like I said, they would train them in weapons. They would basically like train them in their agility, their speed, their strength, you know, turning them into like little soldiers basically. And what Jorgen would do with these kids is that he would pretty much offer them as a service to hire to the higher ups, to basically like rich aristocrats, gang members that could pay for it, or people like, you know like a married woman or a married man that would want, that needed someone taken out. Like, they would basically become assassins. They would train these kids like assassins. They would hire them, and based on the job, they would select one of their kids that they had to do the job. They would identify their the kids by a number on the back of their jumpsuit. Like, all the kids wore jumpsuits. The boys wore blue jumpsuits and the girls wore pink jumpsuits, and they would have their numbers on their backs, and they would also have their own little like nickname which they were given. I remember that there was I remember one high profile kill, like one high profile murder that happened back in the day, and it involved a congresswoman from Vermilion City, and she ended up getting sniped. And how I know this is that my dad was also present at this place. This was back when he this was way back when he like before he went to prison. And he ended up he ended up going to this speech, and the congresswoman got hit. She got hit in the head and with a sniper bullet. Basically, a camera briefly caught the person that was on the nearby building. They were a short male. They were in a jumpsuit, and they saw that they had like numbers on their back, but they couldn't make out what the numbers were because they were so far away that the focus of the camera couldn't really catch it. But it was definitely a binary institute assassin. And the thing about it is Jorgen made millions of dollars off of this. He made millions and millions of dollars off of these brainwashed kids that he was training to be assassins with. Like that he was training to be assassins. He made millions of dollars. And also there were like rumors about them doing other things to those kids, I which I'm not going to even get into here because that shit is disgusting even fucking thinking about. But either way, it basically he got rich off of that whole thing. And at the end, when they turned 18, when they turned into legal adults, they would get mind wiped. They would get mind wiped again, so they would not remember anything that they did while they were in the institute. And after that, they a lot of the money that a lot of the money that they made, they would basically make an account for them. They would give them money, and they would basically just set them into they would basically set them into assimilate back into regular life, not knowing that they were just that they were just like a brutal assassin that was going around just attacking people that they were ordered to attack. It's actually pretty sickening. There's only really two known people that were a part of that institute that escaped and never got mind wiped. And one of them is a member of Rosilla's crew. I don't think I ever talked about Rosilla on this channel, but her and her crew are gonna get their own video. But her name is Fukua, and she was there until the whole place got raided by the feds and the police. And the second person is a member of the Harlots, and that is Killian, who who escaped at an early age. When Killian was telling me about his past, he told me that basically the Institute was hell on earth. The things that he saw, so much hell and so much pain in that place. There were literally kids there that couldn't handle that regime, that whole the things that they were doing, and there were a lot of kids that died. There were a lot of kids that became disfigured, whether it being mentally disfigured or physically disfigured, and it was just something that he couldn't deal with, so he escaped. And he told me also that he basically smiled when they burnt that place down. and this was back when he was like 12 or 13 when he decided to escape the Binary Institute. And he also told me about Fukua, and he remembers seeing Fukua around the place a lot. And she basically stood there. She basically stayed there until everything collapsed. Until, like I said, until the police raided. And he also told me that there are bounty hunters that are basically going around looking for former institutes, and they call them binary babies. The bounty hunters call the former institute kids binary babies, and they go around basically taking out former members of that institute. And the thing about it is that, like I said before, they get mind wiped, so they don't remember doing any of these things. They don't remember, all of the assassinations that they committed against all of these people. And these bounty hunters go after them and just, they just go after them, just doing willy nilly. Like, a lot of these former binary institute kids pretty much have, like, some of them have lives, like, actually contribute to society, have families, have their own kids, and then these bounty hunters just come out of nowhere and kill them. It's actually really, just really heartbreaking that has to happen. And apparently Killian and Fukua are on that list as well, and they have even more money on their head, mainly because they were never mind wiped. So they have to literally look over their shoulders every day. But the thing about it is that, knowing Rosella, she's gonna protect hers, and knowing me, I'm gonna protect Killian, even though Killian doesn't need protection from me because he's a freak either way. But it's still scary to think about. So when the feds and the police raided the institute, the rumor has it that both of them were given different orders. The police were ordered to basically capture any doctors that they could find, and they were also ordered to rescue any kids in that facility that they could. While the MTF, or the feds, were ordered to basically eliminate anybody that was there, because they saw everybody there, the doctors, the professors, even the children. They were ordered to eliminate because they saw them as a huge threat to society. And they were also ordered to burn the institute down to the ground. So let's just say that the institute raid was a bloodbath. People on both sides died. Like, people on both sides lost their lives in that raid. There were 700 doctors that worked there, and there were 900 kids that were captive there. Only 250 doctors were actually captured and arrested by the police, and 400 kids were rescued. So that basically means there is about 450 doctors that just weren't accounted for. Either they fled or they were killed by the MTF. And and like I said, there's only 500 kids, and there were 500 kids that either weren't accounted for, or they fled, or they were killed. Basically, every doctor that was captured in that raid was put on trial, and they were all found guilty and were sentenced to either multiple life sentences or the death penalty, which, in my opinion, anything less than death to those doctors is honestly letting them off too easy. The fact that society carried on with these kids basically being just used like cattle and used like just just toy soldiers. It just irritates me. But a lot of the kids that were captured were basically reassimilated back into life, and they also went and had a bunch of therapy, and they all and even if they needed it, they were also mind wiped to like to forget all of the pain that they went through, because they weren't going to charge these kids with anything, since they did it against their will, and that wouldn't be fair. And a lot of those kids, that especially those kids that were kidnapped, were reunited with their families, especially the ones that were kidnapped. They were reunited with their family, and the other ones that were adopted from orphanages went to other orphanages to be raised. So yeah, a fitting end for a horrible place and time. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Binary Institute. Very scary stuff, and the fact that this place actually existed is just really terrifying. And all I have to say is, like, I hope a place like that never pops up again. Like, they did some really evil shit in there, and like the evil shit that they did in there makes the Demon Clan look less look less dangerous in comparison, and that's how bad it was. But anyway, I just felt like I needed to share that story because, like, it was just something that needed to be told. But anyway, I do have some more videos planned, and I will definitely get those out as soon as I can. Thank you for watching this video. And I also know that my videos aren't really that great. Trust me, like, my videos are downright terrible if we're being honest here, but I even though my videos are horrible, I still have fun making these. And I'm going to be also doing some collabs, more most notably with Elion, because me and him have talked about it. And we'll get some collabs out of the way, but until then, I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, stay pretty, my harlots.